welcome, Naz.
Great.
This is episode 19 of that Indie Talk podcast. Thank you so much for gracing me with your presence. You don't actually know this, but I've actually wanted to host you last year. It just didn't happen when I started these podcast episodes. It happened this year, and I'm really excited about it because today we get to take a chance, a break away from running. I think in one of the
Mm.
conversations we have in the DMs, you've told me that you absolutely hate running,
Phew,
and
yeah.
it's not for you. You would disappear on the streets. So yeah, today I think tonight I'd just like to pick your brain about your experiences in water and being a woman in science. So for Women's Month, I've been having these podcast episodes where I talk to different women about their different experiences on the road, in their workplace, what
Mm.
challenges they face. Because the more we have these conversations, the more people are aware the reality of women in whatever space that they exist, and hopefully we make the world a better space, a better place for women to feel safe and to feel like they can actually be somebody on this earth. So yeah, welcome so much to everybody that's joining. So actually followed Nasreen because I saw a lot of posts about water, and at that point I was getting into swimming and I was following a lot of swimming people, and she does something different. I saw that she participates in free diving, so we will get into that a little
Mm.
bit later. But she also works with the ocean quite a lot. And yeah, this is why I invited her to the space to just bring that water element, a break from running. Nazreen, thank you so much and welcome. Is there anything that I missed about you?
No, and thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. I don't think there's anything that you missed. You covered that I don't like running. You covered that I work a lot with water and that I spend a lot of time in water. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Just to clarify, it's not that I would never run. I quite enjoyed. We used to have a really nice park run up the road. So it was the Route 44 park run, and you'd run through the vineyard and like up the mountain, and it was nice. I mean, I'm not a good runner, but I enjoyed it because it was scenic and it was outdoors. Um, but obviously that stopped with COVID. Um,
Oh
but that
yes,
was
yes,
that was
yes.
like that's like my limit, my running limit. Yeah.
Anissa Katrada says she also hates running. It's not for mermaids.
Anissa Kathrada is like a hiking legend though. So yeah, she's not just a mermaid. She doesn't just go down, she goes like up.
Up, up, up,
Yeah.
up.
I don't know, she must have wings because like you see her on these hectic mountain tops. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done Devil's Peak, and no, it's not Devil's Peak, sorry, it's Lion's Head, and I felt like I
Mm.
was doing mountain climbing. I was like, this is not a hike. Why are we climbing so many
Yeah.
things? Why are we
Yeah.
climbing?
Yes.
So right now,
And yeah.
go on, sorry.
No, no, I was just going to say, like, Cape Townians or in Cape Town, hiking is different from hiking, right? So for us, like from the East Coast, from Josie, we know like hiking. But then you come here and then they throw in the mountain and it's like something
Yeah,
next
something
level. Yeah,
different. Something
yeah,
but makes you stronger for when you go back
yeah,
home.
yeah.
So from our conversations, you mentioned that I think you grew up in Durban and you went to Cape Town, right?
Yes, yeah. I grew up in
So,
a town like an hour south of Durban, but yeah, Durban is home.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
So right now you describe yourself as a mermaid. She just loves the water and she also hikes. But take us through your fitness journey from like school up until now. What have you gotten involved in? What have you enjoyed?
Oh gosh. I was never like the athletic kid in school. I was always the nerdy one with books. And like the last one to get chosen for netball and volleyball and all those things. Um, but I think the one thing I always did throughout school was swimming. So we do a lot of swimming training, swimming laps. And when I got to high
Mm.
school, I started doing Midma as well.
Oh
And
wow.
then the other thing is that my mom, from the time I was quite young, was a yoga instructor. So yoga was also a big part of my life for many years, yeah. So it's been a lot more like swimming and yoga, that sort of thing. And then when I got to university, then I started diving. So I started with scuba. Um, that was, a whole new world, literally. Um, and yeah, so we started becoming a lot more active outdoors, hiking and swimming in the sea. And I used to surf as well. I loved surfing. When
Oh,
I went to university, I'd surf every morning in Durban. And yeah, so that was it. It was the diving when I could, because scuba diving is very expensive. It was the
yes.
surfing every day, yoga here and there. Once I sort of grew older, you know how it is like when your mom tries to teach you something, no matter how good it is for you at a certain age, you just run in the opposite direction. So
Yes, yes,
I gave
yes.
up the yoga for quite a while. Yeah. But then when we started free diving as well, like it ties in very well the breath work. And we do a few other things that are closely linked to breath work, training exercises and other sorts of systems. Um, so, now, so I've never really been much of a gym person or much of a runner. I did join the gym
Mm,
when at one stage, it was okay. It was nice to have a pool, but then I had a bad experience at the gym. So after COVID, I never went back. We just canceled the membership. Um,
mm,
so I prefer to stick to outdoor things. And now, like during lockdown, I've been doing a lot of just like yoga kind of things, especially when we can't dive or we can't hike. It's a nice balance. It's good. I think the stretching for me is very important. Like the breath work is important more than the, you know, fitness, like building muscle and that sort of thing.
I went on a run earlier and I could feel my body was tight, and I was like, I should have done a practice of yoga over the weekend because it would have benefited me so much.
Yes,
And I
yeah,
feel like I live in a tight body. So tomorrow I'm thinking I'm going to roll out to the mat instead of running, but we'll see what I convince myself to do. So you
yeah.
work with water, you're quite involved with water. You're not like us who are always in the office and in front of a computer. Would you
Hmm.
like, please take us through your day of work, what
Okay,
you do
yeah,
professionally, and how you
yes.
balance it with your activities?
Okay, so I actually do spend most of my time in front of a computer. Contrary to popular belief, marine biologists don't spend all their time snacking dolphins and fluffing water into the air. Um, so most of my time is spent behind the computer, and it's um, with the research side of things, right? So it's a lot of data analysis, writing up papers, the admin around that. And then I also supervise students, right? So I have a few postgraduate students, and I have to make sure that their work goes smoothly and that they're okay. And then I lecture as well. So I teach students at the Department of Botany and Zoology in Stellenbosch University. Um,
Mm,
so I lecture undergrads, and that I quite enjoyed that. I love the student time, the face-to-face lecturing. Online has been quite challenging because we don't have.
yes.
Um, it's no longer like a two-way interaction, right? So if you're lecturing,
Yeah.
it can be quite engaging. And now it's just students are silent on Microsoft Teams, and it becomes a challenge. But we find ways to change that and to engage students online. It's just another challenge, that we have to, or another problem to solve.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so that's how I spend most of my time. It's a few times a year that I really go into the field, right? How marine biologists like to take that picture of they'll go into the field for like 5 days of the year, and we'll take a picture of the sea and be like, just another day in the office. But yeah, it's not really just another day in the office. Yeah. Yeah.
When thinking
But I
about,
enjoy the field work too. Yeah. I love it. I love being outside.
how do you manage? You're quite busy, actually. I thought actually that as a marine biologist, you wake up, you drive to the ocean, do stuff with the animals. I write something, and then I don't know. You never go to the office. The ocean is your office. I think that's a
Mm-mm.
misconception that I've had since I was
Mm.
in high school.
Yeah.
Like your schedule sounds pretty packed. I mean, managing
Mm-hmm.
students. I'm sure the undergrad students are, yeah, they're not like the postgrad students. They're not as disciplined.
No, no.
Um, how do you manage to get in your diving, your surfing, your hiking?
Yeah. Weekends and very strict work schedule. So I am very fussy about not working. And when I say not working, I mean not working at my university job um, before like 7 or 8 and after 5. Okay. I am dead to that job at that time. Um,
Mm,
and after hours and on weekends is when we get out and we do cool things, so hiking and diving. Um, the other thing is that my husband Nelson is a free dive instructor. So with the business, we land up doing a lot of training, you know. So when he's got students, I'll sometimes tag along either to help him out or to, you know, do my own training, take advantage of the free ride to the pool or the beach or whatever it is.
mm,
So yeah, I mean, we go out. We try to go for a dive every second weekend or so, because it's a bit of a drive for us to get to the nice side of the bay to dive. Um, yeah, and there's also like a really nice diving community. I see Megan is here as well, laughing. Um,
she says you're
and
amazing.
oh, Megan, so are you. And there's, yeah, so Megan is, you know, we see her quite often as well, and there's a few others. And I think having that community is nice because it's like, okay, are you coming diving? You know, am I seeing you this weekend, kind of thing. And it's also encouraging, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're also held accountable to go diving.
Yes, especially when like you're so busy during the week, and then sometimes it's Saturday and Sunday, and you're like, oh, actually, I just want to lie on the couch and just watch Netflix and switch off, you know.
Mm, mm,
Even
mm,
though you
mm.
love being outside, you know, it's just like, oh, I have to pack everything and drive all the
Yes.
way and, you know,
Yes.
pull on the wetsuit.
Yes.
And yeah, so people being like, you know, come dive it's a good, like, oh, yes, actually, I need to get off the couch. I need to go move myself a bit.
Mm,
Yeah.
I'd like us to talk more about diving because I have a couple of questions for you from um, before this recording. But before we get into like diving and all of that, I just wanted to ask you what
Mm.
have been some of your experiences as a woman in science?
Oh, right. So I always say that, like, personally, my own experience has not been hectic. Okay. But that being said, I've seen a lot of women around me having hectic experiences, and I've heard other women around me having hectic experiences. I think I was just really lucky that from a very, you know, from the time I was in my undergrad, I started working in my what would then become my supervisor's lab, right? So as a
Oh, okay.
part-time job. And he supervised me, you know, then for my honors, my PhD, and even for postdoc until I got my job. And, you know, he was a really strong character, and he always taught us like to stand up for ourselves, even when it was intimidating, and he always had our back, you know. Um, so I was really, really lucky, and maybe even sheltered in a way. Um, but not just sheltered. You know, he taught me like to speak up when it was difficult and when it was uncomfortable. And I think as a woman, it's very important to hear that from someone else because you know, when you're new and you're maybe still a postgrad, and it's very easy to second guess yourself, and especially if you don't have that confidence, and especially if you don't have someone senior telling you objectively, okay, what that person said is wrong, don't just accept things like that. And so I was very lucky, but not a lot of people have that, you know, in a supervisor. Um, yeah, so you know, in the marine science field, it's also quite split. Like there are a lot of females. It's a very popular field for females to get into in South Africa. And most of my classes are usually most of my classes are female, even though it's not just marine. You know, it's ecology in general. So I think that's
Mm,
good. And you know, as time goes by and you see things like, so my HOD is female, for example, and that makes it easier to talk about things and to have that representation. So you know that you can go into a meeting with her and say something, and that she'll understand. You know, so it
mm,
makes you more willing to talk. If that makes sense.
mm,
Um, yeah, you know, it can be difficult. So, for example, when we go on field trips, I've had bad experiences then as a woman in the field. Um, and I'm obviously trying to work through that and trying not to like just stay in this thing of where I always need to have a male in the field, you know, with me at all times. But my experience has been that I need to have a male with me in the field. Um, yeah, so I guess it's different depending on which environment you're working in at that specific time, you know?
why have you found it that when you're going out into the field, you need to have a man around you or with you?
Uh, I've just had experiences of like getting stuck in a scary place or being hit on
Mm,
until someone sees that, you know, you're with a man, so they shouldn't
mm,
bother you. I was, and this might have been my fault. I was once nearly beaten up by a car rental guy, but we had a lot of problems with the vehicle, you know, during the field trip. And of course, when you're leading a field trip and a lot of things go
mm,
wrong, it can be very stressful. So you want it to go as smoothly as possible. And if it doesn't, you want the people that you are renting from or buying from to step up and be like play their part. And
yes.
he was just it was a bad business, you know. Um,
Mm,
so when we sort of spoke about that or confronted him about that, and he got angry and I got angry, and there were bad words exchanged, so he tried to then beat me up. And you know, if Nelson hadn't jumped in the middle, he would have. And yeah, that's you know, yeah, a few too many experiences like that. Um, but like I say, I don't want to be stuck in that um, frame of mind. I don't in that thought. You know, I want to. I also have like there's trauma there or there's issues, and I know that I've got to work through them and figure out a way to create a space so that I can do it independently and I am safe. You know, in a bad situation. Yeah, I
from
think it
having
is
these
an extra
conversations,
challenge as a woman. You
yeah,
know.
what you're saying now is not unique. From the other conversations that I've had, in certain spaces, very hard for women to be independent and go about doing their own thing because there's always
Yeah.
the presence of a lurking man who's going to make that experience,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
horrible. And you think in an isolated situation like a beach or wherever your site visits happen that you would feel safe, but clearly
Mm-hmm.
that is not the case. Yeah, so
Mm.
now I'd like to move on to free diving. So I recently actually learned what free diving was and then found out my
Mm.
head just exploded because I saw Zandi's
Yeah.
account.
Yes.
And when I saw her account, I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
How is this even possible? So I'd previously been exposed, I could say, to scuba diving because I've seen it on TV,
Mm-hmm.
but free diving, not so much. So as a person who knows what it's all about, for people who are listening or watching this, could you describe what free diving actually is? Because I'm scared I might mess it up.
Yeah. Um, so free diving is basically where you are in the sea and you're exploring on one breath. So you don't have a scuba tank on your back, right? You don't have oxygen that you're breathing, that you can breathe, right? So it limits the time that you have underwater. And there are different ways to look at it. So some people look at it as a sport where they try to break records, be it time, be it depth. I think the current record is like 100 and something meters, 105 meters or something, 109. So, I mean, imagine that's now swimming 109 meters down and then still back up. So that's 220 meters on one breath. And the thing that we don't realize is that the minute you start going down, different things happen to your body, right? So you start feeling the pressure in your ears and your lungs. And then, there comes a time where you start convulsing, when you run out of breath and and you feel it, like your diaphragm moves. So, the training has been really helpful, or is really useful to figure out what those things mean, because your body is trying to tell you something. Are you running out of oxygen when you start convulsing? No, not just yet. But it does mean that you need to start, like rein it in. Okay, what is happening in my body? It's time to start going back up slowly, in a controlled way. Um, yeah, so I think the biggest difference, well, the biggest difference would be the lack of a tank, compared to scuba. But also is then that weightlessness, that not carrying something heavy, being able to move freely. Um, so you don't get a lot of bottom time, right? Because you've got to come back up and you've got to recover. And you're limited by how long you can hold your breath for. So that could be a drawback if you really just want to go there and inspect the reef, you know, or the kelp forest or wherever it is that you're diving.
Mm,
But with training, people have like learned to spend a lot of time down there, and it's incredible what your body can do. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that free diving is not just about the act of diving itself. It's about the mental and physical realizations that you have about yourself. It's about the fact that everything depends on your breath work, right? So you yourself are responsible for keeping yourself alive and for a good dive and for, being able to just go down. And it's not like you're relying on equipment. I mean, there is equipment, fins and a mask and a weight belt, but you can free dive without anything, actually. Um, yeah.
when you say that, it reminds me of the documentary that recently won an Oscar, My Octopus Teacher. So the man in there
Mm-hmm.
was also free diving. There's also another
Yeah.
documentary that I watched called Fish People, and it was sponsored by Patagonia. So it explored
Mm.
different people's relationship with water. There was a
Yes.
guy there who left his job to take pictures of the ocean. There was also
Yeah.
another athlete. I think she is a free diving champion or something. Her name is Kimmy, I think. And she went free diving with people, I think, in South Korea who went like these group of women have been free diving
The
for so many
women.
years. Yeah,
Yes.
they'll collect it's not
They're
fish,
called
right?
the
But what's
ama.
another?
Yes.
The ama. They're
Yes. And so in
collecting
South Korea and in Japan as well.
I thought it was so amazing that every day they go underwater, and I'm sure their lung
Mm.
capacity is amazing. There's also
Incredible.
another
Yeah.
documentary that I think your friend made, and I was watching it on DSTV. I just can't remember the
Shamir.
name. Shamir, and
Was it
he was
Shamir's
just
documentary?
yes.
Mm.
I think it's the
That's
name is
called
from the Cape Flats to the ocean or something like that.
Rise from the Cape Flats is what it's called.
Rise
That's
from the Cape
an
Flats.
incredible documentary because it's about his story, and it speaks to the history of South Africa, and then again the lack of access that so many people had to a common space,
Yes,
you know,
yes, yes.
and how people are reclaiming that space and what that means. It's very powerful. I mean, I've watched it probably like 10 times, and every time I shed a tear. It's just
Mm.
very well done. Yeah.
Did you watch the other documentaries in that series? Because I remember there was one where a community would go and they would hunt for, I can't say hunt really, they'd collect
Harvest.
clams from the
So is
ocean.
that
They'd
the
harvest clams.
Yes, so there were two. The one was Hluleka, which was made by Jamila. And Jamila is my master's student, actually. So she's doing her postgrad with us, and she's such an incredible person as well. And one of the reasons she chose this is because she's a marine scientist, but she's now starting to realize the importance of the social aspect as well. And the project that she chose to do is a really cool combination of science and social, of like ecological science and social science. Um,
Mm.
yeah, and I forget the name of the other one. There was another one about harvesters in that same, um, yeah, in that same festival, sort of. Oh, speak of the
I don't
devil,
think there was
Shamir.
one. Yeah, yeah. We loved your documentary. I actually made my mother watch it.
Yes.
Oh yes, on free diving, one last thing. I think I also watched the documentary about a mother and a son duo who were going for the world record. Unfortunately, the mother didn't surface, so she passed away. They actually
I,
never found her body.
Hectic. Um, I haven't watched that one, and I
Oh.
do like I don't like watching things like that, even though it's important. It's important to know what could go wrong,
Yes.
so that you are careful. Like we always say, one of Nelson's biggest things is never dive alone, always dive with a buddy. And still, you hear of so many people diving alone. Um, and you read of accidents. This young,
Mm,
fit guy in, where was it, Australia, that went out and, he went out alone and his body was not recovered as well. And, stuff like that happens all the time. And it's more likely to happen when you go out alone or, when you're not listening to yourself as well. We spoke earlier about
mm,
like convulsions. What does it mean? It means don't panic. You're not out of oxygen, but it means, the time for you to get to the surface is nearing, right? So your body
mm,
has signs. Your body communicates with you as well, and it's important to learn to listen to those.
mm. So the next set of questions are from Heloise Alexandra. The first one, she
Yeah.
said, what did you
Oh
imagine
gosh.
your future to be like when you chose marine biology, and does it match your current reality?
No, it does not match my current reality. I thought it would be a lot more. I actually like. I can't say I pictured it because I've always had this thing where like you don't plan too far ahead because you really don't know what the future looks like. Um, Hold on a second. I see Nasreen says the other video is Uwandle Lushile
By Tembise.
by Tembisa. Yes,
Yes,
that's a really good
that's the one I
documentary
didn't
as well.
watch.
Okay.
I need to
Right.
look for it.
So thanks, Nas. Um, So yeah, like I can't say I had a clear picture, but I thought it would be a lot more sciencey than what it is now, in the sense that I think I thought it would be a lot more outdoorsy actually than what it is now. So what you were saying earlier about that perception that people have of marine biologists, I thought that, not completely, but like to some degree. Um, And now it's very different, not just in the sense that I don't spend all my time outdoors, but in the sense that I'm not just doing ecological science, right? I'm
Mm,
moving very heavily into a social science collaboration space as well. Yeah, so it's different. Reality is different from what I thought.
Reality is different. And then she
Mhm.
asked, how do you deal with such frequent seawater on your glorious hair?
Yeah, so always just, I guess when I've been in the sea, I have to wash my hair. That's it. And it looks glorious sometimes, but it can also be very dry and very, you know, split endy. So you have to like take care of it by getting it cut regularly, and oil helps a lot. So maybe once a month I put like some oil in my hair and leave it in for a couple of hours and then wash it out. Um, and I don't like to use like too much product in my hair, even though I know it could
Mm,
look like glorious, like really big and amazing. If I did, firstly, it's a lot of effort, and I feel like when you put a lot of stuff in, also it damages your hair long term. I might be wrong about that.
yes.
I just don't like to, yeah, use a lot of stuff.
It, it actually just hit me right now that when you go diving, you don't use like a swimming cap, because
Yes,
when I go swimming, I'll let a swimming cap on. I just realized that
yeah,
you go diving with your
yeah,
hair and the seawater sticks to it.
true.
Mental note.
And
And then
other
last
things
question.
too. Like the
Mm,
the other day, I came out of the water and there was like animal tissue in my hair. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was like a
mm,
baby squid, but it turns out it was the inside of a barnacle. So yeah, lots of stuff gets in your hair. So you have to wash your hair after every every time, every sea swim or dive. Yeah.
I'm happy that when I join you guys diving, I'm not gonna have any hair to worry about. I'll just
Yes.
comb it out.
Yeah. You'll
Um,
be fine.
Her last question is, where do you hope to travel once lockdown eases and you're vaccinated?
Oh, so many places. And I think right now I'm just like I'm really feeling that because I love to travel. I love to visit new places and eat new food and see new things. And so I'm really feeling that 2 year sort of, uh, travel ban. The
Yes.
last place I went was Singapore in 2019, and it was epic, and Mauritius actually. Um, so honestly, like I'd really love to go somewhere warm, but anyway, it reached a
Anyway,
stage where the other day I read that Iceland is now welcoming South Africans who have been vaccinated. And then I spent like 2 hours and I planned a whole trip to Iceland, even though I have very little desire to go to Iceland. That's how desperate I am. Like I'm just like anywhere that will have me, take me, please.
and how much are the
Um,
flights working out to be?
They were not that bad, actually. I mean, it was a bit expensive. I think it was like 12,000 return. Um,
That's not bad.
but it's not too bad, yeah.
Oh,
But once everything lifts, who knows? Who knows?
yes.
Yeah.
Miss
Yeah.
Nasreen says Seychelles to see her. She
Oh, yes.
hopes.
We have to. Oh, I said this morning I was speaking to Nasreen and she's going back to Seychelles, so we have to obviously go to Seychelles um, to visit her, because we have to visit our friends. It would be rude if
Yes,
we didn't go. Yeah,
yes,
that's the
yes,
only
yes.
reason. Yeah.
Um, my next question is, if you were to wake up one day as a boy, what would you do?
If I was to, like, you mean like by choice or not by choice? Like, surprise, you're a
Like,
boy.
those movies where people wake up and they're in another body?
Right, right, right,
So
right.
if it was
Oh,
that
that's an
situation and you're
interesting
a
one.
boy,
Yeah. Huh. I don't know. Okay, so, when I was younger, I always kind of, when I was, like say maybe 10, 12, I used to kind of wish that I was a boy. But I think that was also cultural in the sense that boys had a lot more freedom in my, very conservative community. Um, and life seemed less awkward if you're a boy. Um,
Mm.
but I don't know what I would do if I was a boy. I would check to see if Nelson was a girl. I don't know. Um, yeah, I don't know. I suppose I just carry on living my life and waiting to see if anyone noticed. Um,
And
yeah.
if Nelson wasn't a boy, would that be divorce?
No, it wouldn't
Wait,
be.
if he
No,
was
no,
still
it
a
wouldn't
boy,
be.
would it be divorce?
No, it wouldn't be. I think, my marriage transcends genders, so yeah, that's not an issue. Um, I don't know what I would do. That's a good question. I wouldn't do anything differently than I do now.
Wouldn't you
Um,
want to go hiking? Because you currently can't do it alone. I think you'd feel more
I can
comfortable
go
to go to
hiking
sites
alone.
alone. Is it?
I can. I do. I would.
I am happy you're able
Maybe
to
it's
do
not
that.
advisable. Sorry?
Yeah. I was saying
Say
I'm
again.
happy you're able to go hiking alone.
Yeah.
Because from the other conversations I had, I think it was with Monique, and she said if she was a boy, she'd definitely wake up and go run in the mountains alone. She'd feel much
Yeah.
safer.
You know, I haven't had a bad experience, but I know a lot of females that have actually, where people
Mm,
have been attacked because they were alone as a female, or even, attempted assault, like sexual assault. So yeah, definitely that is a very valid point. I guess I just don't go hiking and running in the mountains often enough, to notice it,
mm,
but it's
yeah,
definitely something that is, an issue. And in Cape Town as well. So there are a couple of spots that are super dodgy that you know that you don't go to, you know. But here on
mm,
my side, it's a bit like the reserves and stuff that we have are a bit more tame and less, like they're more open. So I think it's harder for
yeah,
people to try anything. Um,
yeah.
that's purely because it's not like just a covered forest, you know. That's wild if you
Mm,
think about it,
mm,
you know.
yes,
Um, just the vegetation type makes a difference to your safety, you know.
yes, yes.
Yeah, it is a bit sad.
Fahima said you would pee standing up. That's what
You
you would
would,
do
you'd
as a
pee
boy.
standing up. Hmm. Maybe. I mean, do I want to pee standing up? I don't know. It's not like something that's come up in my life. Like, damn, I wish I could. Also, as a female, if you wanted to pee standing up, you could, because now they have those very nifty devices. I don't know what
Does
they're
anybody
called.
use those?
Shiwi or something. I don't know. I don't
I think
know.
I've
I
seen
have
those on
heard
the
of people
internet.
using them. Yeah.
I think I've seen them on the
But
internet.
no, I feel like if I
Um,
wanted to pee standing up, I just go out and get me one of those. Yeah.
um, oh yeah, I just wanted to say on the point where I was asking if Nelson was also a boy, would it be divorced? So I was watching the series called Altered Carbon, and it's set in the
Oh
future
yeah.
where your soul, or rather, your soul actually is stored in a disc that they put in the back of a body, right? So
Mm,
people change bodies and they call those bodies sleeves. So one day you
yeah.
could be in this sleeve, the next day you could be in another sleeve, which is of another
Yeah.
gender and
Mm,
another race. And
yeah.
so unfortunately you don't choose the sleeve that you get, especially if it's like a government assigned sleeve. So this person's
Okay.
sleeve had like they'd gotten an accident and the sleeve was beyond repair. So
Mm,
they put her in a man's body. So when
right.
she went to go see her husband after the accident,
Yeah.
she was a man. And it was actually quite interesting to think that this could be the future, hey?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
actually gender is not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
It was an
So
interesting series.
in a less realistic series, so I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and they play around with that as well because there's a species called the Trill. I think it's the Trill. So they are like parasites, and they they have like a mutual host, right? So like a humanoid body. And one of the episodes also played around with that, where one of the characters fell in love with this guy who was a troll host, and then the body died. So then he had to move to another body. And so it was a different guy. And, she was like, okay, that's fine. You're just in a different body. I can accept that. But then when it moved to a female, she's like, I can't do this. So it was an interesting thing, like to play around with that, do you love the
Was
person or the character or the
yes.
body, the gender? Or yeah, um,
Was this the Star Trek with
very cool
Michael?
episode. Of,
Was this the Star Trek
say
with
again.
Michael Burnham?
No, this was Next Generation. So Jean-Luc Picard, being the captain. Um, but then there was Deep Space Nine, where they had a full-time character that was a troll, I think, as well. Um,
Also,
yeah,
there's Star Trek Discovery on Netflix. They also have a troll character
yeah,
in this recent season. I
yes,
enjoyed that.
yeah,
I really, really liked Star Trek.
yeah, yeah.
We could have a whole live about
Me
Star
too.
Trek, but let's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my last question is not really a question, but rather your message of hope for the women of South Africa for Women's Month.
That's a difficult one. Because it feels, often it doesn't feel very hopeful. Just the other day,
Mm,
I saw, I mean, every day there's something, every day there's some story of someone that's been, attacked or killed or violated. And it's difficult in South Africa, it is. Um, I think for me, the most hopeful thing has been surrounding myself with a good support system, with people that understand, females that I know I'm safe around, where it's a safe space, and also males that I can speak to openly, about issues. Um, so I, I suppose it's not a message of hope, it's more advice is please get yourself a support system, even if you've never had a single bad experience, because in this country, like not even in this country, in this world, honestly, overnight that could change. And touch wood, I hope it never does if nothing's ever happened to you. But just people that you can be open with, people that you can share with and that will support you. And even if nothing bad has happened, even if you're just trying to achieve a goal, it's really about community. And I feel like sometimes we as women recognize the value of community more than men, where we create it, we make use of it, we acknowledge it more. Um, so yeah, I think as long as we have community, we'll be okay. Maybe that's the message of hope. Keep creating community, keep nurturing the community that you have. Yeah.
I like that sentence. I like that last sentence. Really, really like it.
Mm.
Could be in a poetry book. Really, really like it. Uh,
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nasreen, for taking time out tonight to share your knowledge and to share your experiences. I really enjoyed the free diving education and
Mm.
also demystifying misconceptions about your career. Now I know that you don't spend, the ocean is not your office.
No, Excel
And
is my office. Yeah,
Excel is your office. And one day
mm.
when I'm in Cape Town, hopefully you and Nelson take me free diving. It's been a while
Absolutely.
since I've been in Cape Town.
Yeah.
And I look forward to that. There's somebody else who said they look forward to free diving with you. If I can find that
It was
comment,
probably Anissa,
yes, it
because
was
Anissa
probably,
has been threatening to come last week and I don't know. I don't know.
yeah,
Sideways
I
comments.
think it was her.
Oh, I see a comment from
Sideways comment.
Anusha who says that yes, security. Anusha is brave. Anusha is always like female only teams in the field, and she's also remarkable. Yeah. Yeah,
Yes, so
so many brave women.
one of the
Anyway,
issues. Yes, but it's the community that you mentioned. Surround yourself with the
yes,
community and you build
absolutely.
a strong
Yeah.
support. Yeah. So thank
Mm.
you so much again for joining me tonight. I really enjoyed
Thanks
this
for having me.
conversation. Makes me miss swimming. Really enjoyed this.
Oh, well, yeah, you should go swim and you should definitely come visit us. 'Cause
Definitely when
yeah,
I'm in
it'll
Cape
be
Town.
great. Yes.
Definitely when
Thank
I'm
you
in
for
Cape
having
Town.
me.
Thank you so much for joining me, and please enjoy the rest of your evening and the week.
Thanks, you too.
And stay
Thank
warm
you.
because it's damn cold.
Yes, you too.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you so much for joining everybody, guys.